In a previous video, I have covered the difference between a run of show and a production text script. And today I want to show you two more examples of that could look like for, say, a virtual fundraising gala and a virtual award ceremony, and the two different approaches that I took for those two events. Okay, so what we're looking at right now here is a run of show for a fundraising virtual gala that has already happened, and it doesn't have a whole lot of information, but for a stream, say via StreamYard, that is an easy stream and it doesn't have to have a whole lot of elements. This is actually pretty good. So what you can see here is the few elements that are noted. One is, the timing for each one of those elements, and then what is the action that those elements require. Anything that is video here is actually pre-recorded content. So at this time, I would push the pre-roll, which usually is pre-recorded and is about 10 minutes long. So we would have the pre-roll, and then we have another pre-recorded content and a scissor reel, which is basically an organizational video. And then we go live around, the beginning of the program with the main presenter, the MC that welcomes everyone and explains really what's happening and what's going to happen and what are some of the tools that are going to be used, which is great to share with your audience, especially if this is a virtual fundraising event that also has a online platform, giving platform that is attached to it. And then we go into another pre-recorded content, and all those elements are so awesome to have them pre-recorded because it makes the event so much easier and also keeps it on track. And there's less liability with people coming on a video that maybe were great during tech check, but then the day of the event, I don't know, their internet router fried and they can't get online anymore. So that's just a crazy scenario, but it actually has happened. So that kind of, pretty much follows the run of show, and it just adds the timing of what happens when and how long is each one of those segments. And then we have the auctioneer going through different levels and different graphics overlays for what happens during that time. And also, maybe if there's some content assets related to the particular auction item that's being sold, that would be probably the graphic overlay that we're sharing here, or it could be a side-by-side. And then that pretty much goes pretty fast. Like once we get going, and by an hour's time, we are done. And that is fantastic because this is one of those short events that gets to the point and is there to raise funds, and it does its job. Now, in the case of a different event, this was an award ceremony, I was handed with a very long script, and I took the approach of actually adding my cues onto my own script. Now, this is my copy, is not the client's copy, but they were basically giving me their latest version of the script. And then based on that, we did our technical rehearsal and I started adding my cues. The reason why I did that, because it had so many slides and so many videos and so many elements that I needed to hit on a particular cue on the script. So if I had the script and then if I had the run of show as a side-by-side, I felt like I would have been just a little bit lost keeping track of everything while also running everything. So instead, what I did, I took all my production cues and added it onto the script so I can follow the script and hit my cues without missing a bit. So that had worked really good, especially having the technical rehearsal to make sure that each one of those cues are in the right place and follows, the timeline and the script appropriately. So I would have different things like go full screen on this presenter and then go to this person and then add lower third and then, show his slides. And again, because this event had so many different videos and each one of those things was a video, an award ceremony, I wanted to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So each one of those had to be in caps and I can't miss it, because if I'm multitasking and I'm doing a million of different things and I had different playback decks and different computers with different PowerPoints, because each live presenter had a different PowerPoint, and then the videos that were playing in between, if I do all of that and also have to keep track of this super long script with a million cues, I would miss stuff. So I found a way that works for me. And that's something that's super important, knowing your workflow. And I'm super flexible in my workflow, because if I have to adjust things and if I have to be on the fly and do things, given that I'm actually given a little bit of time to study the script so that I know what, I'm getting myself into, then I can adjust my workflow to work with whatever the client's needs are. So as you can see, there's different things happening all the time, and the colors are so bright that it's kind of hard to miss it. If you miss that, that means maybe you need a helper to call those things to you in advance. And that would have helped on my end as well. But this was an event that was working on such a tiny budget that I needed to make do with what I had and support this event. So that's, one way of creating a production script based on either run-of-show or a script that the client has for their event, and make it work for your event. Or you can go into something that's minute by minute and a little less crazy looking. Or you can go into something that has more information and it gets into the details of like, okay, what happens when, where, who, and links. And is this live? Is this pre-recorded? Where does it stream? Or you can have a schedule and work off of that schedule and then build your production script to translate whatever the schedule was into that. So those are just a few examples. Your workflow will determine which tool you're going to use when and for which event. So make that work for your event, whatever that might have to look like. And if it's just 3 lines, it's 3 lines. In the beginning, I remember when I was first streaming with StreamYard and I had events that needed to follow cues, I would literally put, line by line, like, what do I do next? Like, go to this banner and then show that overlay and then show, that branding, and then, have this presenter come in and then that presenter side by side, or whatever that has to be, make it work for you. And I promise you that the more you do those things, the more easy it's going to become sort of like a second nature. So you're just going in between super fast and you will get really good at it and serve your events better and your clients and have more clients, which is what we all want, right? So that's my tips for today. I hope it was helpful. If you have questions, if you have your own tips and suggestions, please do get back to me with feedback. You can find me under my own company's Instagram, which is Trifan Events, or the podcast, Events Demystified Podcast, or on LinkedIn, and we can have a conversation.